Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I'm just going to start off with taking up Craig Hoy's comment earlier on with regards to Ferguson's in Port Glasgow, unsurprisingly. I actually think that Craig Hoy has done his colleague Graham Simpson a disservice, because Graham Simpson has taken part in the round-table discussions about the Yard, about investment, and has been supportive of the workforce at the Yard. Now, Craig Hoy earlier spoke about and touched upon the fact that Glen Sannox is no longer there. That's true. Thankfully, the Glen Rosa is still being outfitted. So if there is no money going to Ferguson's, then the work for the Glen Rosa doesn't happen, and the ferry doesn't finish, and island communities will not get the ferry. So I'm sorry, Mr Hoy. Mr Hoy was absolutely wrong and incorrect in his assertion in his comments earlier on. Now, the motion from the Scottish Tories, it says it all about their thinking. They are clearly rattled by the challenge on the political right. And this motion is nothing short of an attempt to pit one vulnerable group against another. And the Tories, it's already been touched upon in the Chamber, but the Tories really would do well to actually heed the joint statement issued today from the Church of Scotland and also the Scottish Catholic Church. I want to quote from Jill Kent, the chairperson of the Justice and Peace Scotland, when she said, and I quote, that the Holy Family were themselves once refugees, and the encouragement and solidarity that we can show in our political debates to those who find themselves on the margins is as important as ever. The joint statement also highlights how important this small investment will be for people who are not permitted to work and often are living on as little as £8.86 per week. And for asylum seekers, public transport is completely unaffordable, something Alex Hole-Hamilton just touched upon in his question a few moments ago. Now, a day ticket in Glasgow costs £5.60. That equals more than half of people seeking asylum's weekly allowance. And access to free bus travel would be positively life-changing and mentally transformative for those otherwise stuck in an inadequate and slow asylum system. Now, surely this £2 million is actually an investment to help keep people out of accessing mental health services in the NHS. Now, during their 14 years in government, asylum seekers, refugees and migrants, irrespective of their circumstances, were labelled as being the source of the UK's problems. Now, Presiding Officer, many asylum seekers reside in my constituency and have for several years now, yet are prevented from working. Now, asylum support provides just £49.18 per week, or just £8.86 per person per week, if in a supported accommodation. I'm sorry, Mr Kerr, I need to make some progress. I'll try and get you in later. Now this leaves just £7.02 per day for the essentials, or just £1.36 in supported accommodation for essentials like transport. Now, we've all seen how the Tories treat asylum seekers by leaving them languishing in accommodation whilst their applications take an age. Now, Labour historically was a party known for its social democratic values. Now, surely then it should be the Labour UK government pledging to support asylum seekers and speed up the asylum process across the UK. Now, I'm not sure if that will happen because, as we've already seen, it was the Labour Party in the UK government who have removed the winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners and also still allowed the children to remain in poverty by continuing with the two-child cap. Now, Presiding Officer, the Tories' motion also mentions a tax system. Now, in Scotland, those with the broader shoulders pay a little bit more, enabling Scotland to spend more on the things that matter most and also on the policies that people elsewhere in the UK do not get. Now, free prescriptions, free university tuition and the game-changing Scottish Child payment are just 3 examples of SNP delivery. Now, this is a far cry from the Tory policies designed to enrich their friends while making the average member of the public worse off. Now, plus, opposition parties never mentioned that when taking tax and social security choices together, over 60% of Scots in 2025-26 are set to be better off because they live in Scotland. Now, Presiding Officer, that the SNP do not need to take any lessons on the economy or taxation from the party that gave us Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng. And it's worth reminding the Chamber that, as has been the case for each of the 17 budgets, that this SNP Scottish Government has set balanced budgets, because they can only spend what they are given. Now, there is a welcome funding increase. There is a welcome funding increase from the Labour UK government for 25-26, but it doesn't go far enough. And it certainly is not going to unravel 14 years of Tory austerity, something themselves, the Labour Party, have already acknowledged time and time again in this chamber over the last wee while. Okay?
Briefly, Daniel Johnson.
So I'm grateful to Stuart McMillan. It says it doesn't go far enough, but the SNP revenue-raising measures would have only raised £16 billion. Our budget raised over £40 billion coming straight. And likewise, on capital budgets, it increased by 12%, which was apparently one of the key issues the SNP had. So where does it not go far enough?
And Ms McMillan, you've got about 30 seconds. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, that's the thing that Mr Johnson, giving with one hand, but also taking it away from the other because of the national insurance contributions. Something that is going to affect, as Mr Johnson will know, it's going to affect the public authorities, the third sector and also the private sector across Scotland. So, Presiding Officer, just in closing, the economic aspects of today's debate was typical of each of the parties, but the othering of one vulnerable group, pitting them against another, is a new low from the Scottish Tories front bench. And there will certainly be some Scottish Tory MSPs who will be ashamed of this position, and I don't blame them.